Martin Luther King Day was a day off from work. It's interests me particularly about our president as that part of the baby boom is that he grew up with a sort of like the baby boom atmosphere as such a given. You remember when he was running for his first term and there was that scandal about, or not scandal, whatever, a big flap about Reverend Jeremiah Wright, has been his pastor in Chicago, married Michelle and Barack, had christened his kids. Jeremiah Wright, as you may remember, was a man of forceful views, strongly put, goddamn America, the CIA invented AIDS and a few other things like that. Well, there was quite a sort of, the Republicans tried to make as much as they could of Reverend Wright. But, it turned out, as the story played out, that as best anybody could figure, President Obama had been sitting right there in the church paying no attention whatsoever on the BlackBerry with Rahm Emanuel. And I was thinking, is this so weird? Because like a senior class baby boomer, we'd have been standing on the pew with a fist in the air, yelling right on and demanding some property destruction over at the University of Chicago, Sophomore baby boomer, junior baby boomer, assuming he was awake early enough to go to church and could find the church, would be kind of nodding in stoned agreement and hoping that the church's social outreach program included free lunch. The sophomore baby boomers would have been a little, they were the people who wrote the Preppy Handbook. They would have been sitting there going, I don't know, Reverend Wright, that's pitching it a little high and inside, I'm not so sure. But the freshman baby boomers, it was just like they were fish who had been born into a sea of hooey, and it just, right over their head. I thought it was sort of wonderful in a way, sometimes we worry about our president's philosophy. My guess is that he doesn't have one, so that's better, really. That's better than if he had a plan, he might be dangerous. Okay. Now, so now we come to a point where the baby boom is, I think, it's the world's future. It's the world's future. Everybody on the planet is going to turn into us, into the baby boom eventually, just as soon as families get excessively prosperous and happy and permissive and start feeling too much affection for their kids. Unless, of course, baby boom style extravagant freedom and scant responsibility and plenty of money and modicum of peace, unless they lead to such a high rate of carbon emissions that we all fry or drown, whichever it is that's currently fashionable among climate change people. But you can't have everything, and you can have a profusion of opportunity and at the same time a collapse of traditional social standards. You look at Western Europe and the wealthiest parts of Asia and Latin America, they're almost as useless as we are. In the best sense of useless, with abundant disposable income, ample leisure time to devote to pointless activities that don't harm anybody much except themselves, such as catch and release trout fishing. Baby boom places, it's also interesting to me that these baby boom-like places that have that kind of baby boom ethos the way America does, they all seem to be engaged in this bellicose national political deadlock, just like we are. And there's a lot of tut-tutting about this bellicose national political deadlock. But, it's a huge improvement on bellicose national political purpose. That's bombing Pearl Harbor, We don't do that kind of stuff, A little too lazy, a little too self-indulgent to bomb Pearl Harbor. But I foresee a day when the noxious politics will disappear all over the world because all of the world's political science classes are going to happily degenerate into hour-long shouting matches the way mine did in 1968, It's hard to remain truly noxious in your politics when you would rather be is obnoxious. Stupid notions of central planning, nationalization, protectionist trade barriers, they're going to fall by the wayside when everybody is paying as little attention in Econ 101 as I was. And sooner or later, the 1.29 billion people in the world were making less than $1.25 an hour. Not an hour, less than $1.25 a day. 1.29 billion people in the world are living on less than $1.25 a day. The way I was when I was selling pot, as I smoked all the profits. They're going to figure out that there's a better way. There's a better way. In fact, I just received this email from Nigeria about a rather large amount of money transferred to America. Oh, with only minimal assistance from me. There's going to be no religious fanaticism in a baby boom world, because we're not a generation who listens to anybody, God included, you know. And in our defense, I doubt God minds, you know, us not bothering about him, you know. Very few of the people we've bothered, parents, college deans, the police, LBJ, job supervisors, attractive types in bars, very few of them have minded when we quit bothering them, you know. I mean, world peace, that's probably too much to ask for, but it will be impossible to assemble those huge conscripted armies that used to fight wars, because we'll all have a letter from our doctor about how we're allergic to camouflage, right? Besides, war is about power. And you know, one kind of nice thing about baby boomers is they're not power hungry. They're not power hungry. I mean, power comes with that kicker, responsibility, you know? And baby boomers, we're greedy for love, for happiness, for experience, for sensation, for thrills, for praise, for fame, adulation, inner peace, and as it turns out, money, health and fitness too. But we're not greedy for power. And I can prove that. Observe the baby boomers who have climbed to the peak of power in Washington. Best and brightest? No, they're over at Goldman Sacks, the best and brightest. And what about, I speak to the world, all of you tyrannical, despotic, overbearing squares with your two-bit autocracies and the butt ends of the earth, you will turn into baby boomers too, and shall rain on your Woodstock. You shall spend your treasure on discos, cocaine, and rehab. Your junk bond shall default, and your dot-com bubble shall burst. You shall form overage garage bands and try to play Margaritaville. Your third spouse shall acquire an American Express black card with a credit limit higher than the U.S. national debt. Your daughters shall wear nose rings. Your sons shall have pagan symbols indelibly marked upon their bodies. Unless you belong to one of those cultures where daughters wear nose rings and sons have pagan symbols indelibly marked on their bodies, in which case they shall not. You shall be perplexed by the internet. You shall grow old and addled enough to vote for Ross Perot in a presidential primary. You know? There is no escape from happiness, attention, affection, freedom, irresponsibility, money, peace, opportunity, and finding out that everything you were ever told is bullshit. I say, behold the baby boom, ye mighty, and despair. Anyway, that's all I know. But if anybody's got any questions, I'll be glad to make up some other stuff. Does anybody have some questions? Somebody out there must say, yes, ma'am.
Brooklyn is pinko.
Brooklyn is pinko. Oh,